The operations center at Camp Leatherneck erupted in chaos. Contact. Heavy contact. We're pinned. Mortars incoming. We need fire support now. Where's air? Where the hell is air support? 3 radio operators worked frantically, trying to coordinate between the trapped Marines, available aircraft, and command authority. Voices overlapped. Call signs got mixed up. Coordinates were repeated 3-4 times. Critical seconds burned away while experienced operators struggled to cut through the noise. Lieutenant Marcus Kane stood at the back of the room, watching the digital map. 47 Marines. Viper Company, 3rd Battalion. Surrounded. Taking fire from 3 sides. Mortars walking closer to their position every 30 seconds. The countdown timer on the operations board glowed red. 5:47. 5 minutes, 47 seconds until the mortars found the range and killed everyone. Senior Master Sergeant David Chun, the most experienced Joint Terminal Attack controller on base, was on the radio. His voice was steady, professional, 15 years of experience behind every word. But Kane could hear the strain. Too many variables. Too much chaos. Not enough time. Razor 2-1, say again your position, negative. Grid 42S, stand by. Chen's hands moved across the keyboard, pulling up grid coordinates, checking distances, verifying clearances. But the chaos was winning. Every second of delay brought those Marines closer to death. Then a new voice came on the radio. Quiet. Almost a whisper compared to the shouting. Overwatch to all stations. I have tactical control. Authenticate and stand by. Chen looked up confused. Who the hell was Overwatch? That call sign wasn't even on the roster. But before he could respond, the voice continued. And something in that tone, that absolute, unshakable calm, made everyone in the room go quiet. Razor 2-1, authentication Lima Foxtrot 7. Confirm ordnance and fuel state. The F-18 pilot responded without hesitation. His voice carried relief. Finally, someone who sounded like they knew what they were doing. Authenticated. 2,000-pound dams, 20 minutes playtime. Copy. Stand by for 9-line brief. Danger close. Kane stared at the radio. Danger close? That meant dropping 2,000-pound bombs within 200 meters of friendly forces. One mistake, one single miscalculated coordinate, and those bombs would kill the Marines they were trying to save. And whoever Overwatch was, they were about to make that call. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Army Story so you never miss these true tales of courage. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from today? Staff Sergeant Emma Torres was 26 years old, and she was supposed to be off duty. She'd been walking to the chow hall when she heard the chaos bleeding from an open radio in the maintenance bay. Years of training made her stop. Years of instinct made her listen. And what she heard made her blood run cold. 47 Marines. Pinned. Mortars incoming. And the radio net was a disaster. Emma didn't think. She just moved. She walked into the operations center, picked up a spare headset, and keyed the mic. The call sign Overwatch came from nowhere. She made it up on the spot because she wasn't authorized to be on that net. But authorization didn't matter. Results did. And in 5 minutes, she was going to deliver results. Emma Torres had joined the Army at 18, fresh out of high school in rural Montana. She was quiet, bookish, the kind of person who disappeared in a crowd. The recruiter had suggested communications or intelligence. You're smart, he'd said. Why not use that? She'd chosen JTAC Joint Terminal Attack Controller, the job of coordinating airstrikes for ground forces. It required mathematics, calm under pressure, and the ability to make life or death decisions in seconds. She was perfect for it. At JTAC school, she was the only woman in her class. The instructors were skeptical. The other students made jokes. She'll wash out first week, they whispered. She graduated top of her class. Perfect scores on every simulation. And then she deployed. Her first real call came in Helmand Province, 2015. A platoon pinned by enemy fire. Their JTAC wounded. The radio operator panicking. Emma took the handset from a lieutenant who had no idea what he was doing and guided an F-16 through a strike so precise it put a 500-pound bomb within 40 meters of friendly forces. 0 casualties. Perfect execution. Afterward, the F-16 pilot had radioed back. Who was that? She never raised her voice once. Ice cold. The call sign stuck. Iceberg. Over the next 3 years, Emma coordinated 127 close air support missions. She developed a reputation. Pilots requested her by call sign. Ground commanders wanted her on their operations. Other JTACs studied her radio recordings to learn her techniques. But Emma didn't seek glory. She just did the work. And when the Army asked her to become a trainer, to teach the next generation of combat controllers, she accepted. For 5 years, she'd been teaching at Camp Leatherneck, training JTACs, running simulations, preparing others for the chaos she'd once lived in. She hadn't been on a combat net in 5 years. Until today, the contrast between Emma and the experienced operators in the TOC was stark. Chun and the others were professionals, but they were drowning in variables, multiple frequencies, competing priorities, the weight of 47 lives pressing down on every decision. Emma just saw math, coordinates, timing, wind, blast radius, risk assessment. It was all numbers, and numbers didn't panic. Viper 3-1, this is Overwatch, Emma said, her voice steady and clear. Authenticate, Bravo Echo 4. Staff Sergeant Jake Morrison's voice came back, tight with stress but functional. Authenticated. Copy. Confirm your position with IR strobe. Keep your people tight. Ordnance will impact within 60 meters of your position. 60 meters. Morrison's voice cracked. Overwatch, we've got wounded. We can't move them. Understood. I'll keep it off you. Trust me. In the TOC, Chun stared at the radio. 60 meters. That was insane. That was beyond danger close. That was. She knows what she's doing, a quiet voice said. Chun turned. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Vance stood behind him, arms crossed, watching the operation unfold. Ma'am, do you know who that is? I have a suspicion, Vance said. Keep listening. Emma's voice continued, methodical, precise. Razor 219 line follows. IP north, heading 180, offset east 400 meters. She rattled off the 9-line brief, the standardized format for close air support, without hesitation, without notes, pulling the coordinates from memory and mathematics. Every number perfect, every detail exact. The F-18 pilot read back the brief. Razor copies all. Rolling in hot. 30 seconds. The countdown timer read 3:12. On the ground, Morrison pressed his Marines flat against the compound walls. Get down. Get down. Air's coming in hot. The F-18 screamed overhead, invisible in the night sky, but announced by the roar of its engines. Captured 121 visible, Emma said. Cleared hot. Razors in hot. The bomb fell. 2,000 pounds of high explosive, guided by GPS and terminal laser, impacting exactly where Emma had calculated. 63 meters from the Marine position. The explosion was massive. A shockwave rolled across the compound, dust and debris filling the air. Marines pressed against the wall felt the heat, felt the ground shake, felt the percussion in their chests. But when the dust cleared, they were alive. And the enemy position that had been hammering them with fire was simply gone. Razor, good hits, Emma said, her voice unchanged. Assess BDA and stand by for re-attack. The F-18 pilot circled. Overwatch, that was perfect. Target destroyed. No secondary explosions. You just saved a lot of lives. Copy. Stand by. We're not done. The mortar team was still active. Emma could hear it in the background radio chatter. 2 more threats to eliminate. She coordinated 2 more strikes. Each one precise. Each one danger close. Each one perfect. By the time the last bomb impacted, the countdown timer read 0:47. 47 seconds left. Viper 3-1, threats neutralized, Emma said. Exfil route is clear. Move now. Morrison didn't hesitate. Viper were moving. Go, go, go. 47 Marines, carrying 3 wounded, moved through the compound and into the extraction zone. Helicopters were already inbound, rotors thumping in the distance. In the TOC, the room erupted in cheers. Chen slumped in his chair, exhausted, relieved. Kane stared at the map, watching the blue icons move safely away from the red zone. Vance picked up a handset. Overwatch, this is Leatherneck 6 Actual. Identify yourself. There was a pause. Then quietly, Ma'am, Staff Sergeant Emma Torres. I apologize for using an unauthorized call sign. I heard the situation and Torres. Chen's head snapped up. Iceberg. I'll be in your office in 5 minutes, Sergeant, Vance said. We need to talk. Yes, ma'am. Emma set down the headset, her hands shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. She'd just broken protocol, used an unauthorized call sign, taken control of a combat operation she had no business being on. She was probably about to be reprimanded, maybe worse. But 47 Marines were alive, and that was all that mattered. 10 minutes later, Emma stood at attention in Colonel Vance's office. At ease, Sergeant, Vance said, studying her. Do you know what you just did? Ma'am, I took unauthorized control of a CAS operation. I used a call sign not on the roster. I breached protocol. You saved 47 lives, Vance corrected. In 5 minutes. Under pressure. With precision I've rarely seen in 20 years of service. Emma said nothing. Master Sergeant Chun tells me you're Iceberg. The Iceberg. The JTAC trainer who's been here 5 years. Yes, ma'am. He also tells me you haven't been on a combat net in 5 years. You just train others. That's correct, ma'am. Vance leaned back. So why did you break protocol today? Emma met her eyes. Because I could, ma'am. I had the training. I had the experience. And 47 men were about to die while we worried about authorization. Vance nodded slowly. You understand you could be court-martialed for this? Yes, ma'am. Good. Because I'm not going to court-martial you. I'm going to commend you. And then I'm going to ask you a question. Emma blinked. Ma'am, why are you training instead of doing? You're better than anyone I have in that TOC. Why aren't you on operations? Emma's jaw tightened. Ma'am, I requested operations duty multiple times. I was told training was more valuable, that my skills were better used teaching others. In other words, they didn't think a woman should be on combat nets. Emma didn't respond, but the answer was clear. Vance picked up her phone. This is 6 Actual. Get me CENTCOM personnel. I need an authorization for Staff Sergeant Emma Torres, call sign Iceberg, for operational duty. Effective immediately. She hung up and looked at Emma. You're back on operations, Sergeant. And this time, we're going to use you properly. 3 days later, a mandatory formation was called at Camp Leatherneck. Every Marine from Viper Company attended. 47 men stood in neat rows, clean uniforms, full of questions. At the front of the formation stood Colonel Vance. Beside her stood Emma Torres. 3 days ago, Vance began. Viper Company was ambushed, pinned down, taking casualties. Mortars incoming. Command estimated you had less than 6 minutes before catastrophic losses. The Marines remembered, every one of them, but someone intervened. Someone took control of the radio net and coordinated 3 danger close airstrikes with precision so perfect that 0 friendly casualties occurred. 47 men walked out of that kill zone, all because of one person's skill, courage, and willingness to break protocol to save lives. Vance turned to Emma. Staff Sergeant Emma Torres. Call sign Iceberg. The formation went silent. Then, slowly, Staff Sergeant Morrison stepped forward. His voice was thick with emotion. Ma'am, that was your voice. You were Overwatch. Yes, Emma said quietly. Morrison's eyes filled with tears. You saved us. All of us. We thought we were dead. And you. He couldn't finish. Emma looked at him. You're welcome, Staff Sergeant. One by one, the Marines stepped forward. Not in formation, not organized. Just men who wanted to say, thank you. You kept your voice calm. It kept us calm. Those strikes were perfect. 60 meters. I've never seen anything like it. I have kids, ma'am. I'm going home to them because of you. 47 men. 47 thank yous. Emma stood there overwhelmed, tears streaming down her face. Then Morrison came to attention and saluted. The entire company followed. 47 crisp salutes held with trembling hands. Emma returned the salute, her voice barely a whisper. It was my honor. Lieutenant Kane approached afterward. Ma'am, I was in the TOC. I watched you work. I've never seen anything like it. How did you stay so calm? Emma smiled slightly. Because panic is contagious, and so is calm. If I panic, everyone panics. If I stay calm, everyone has a chance. But the pressure is why the calm matters, Emma interrupted. When everything is chaos, someone has to be the eye of the storm. That's the job. Kane nodded slowly. They call you Iceberg. They do. Now I understand why. Over the next 6 months, Emma coordinated 43 more close air support missions. Her reputation spread beyond Camp Leatherneck. Pilots across theater requested her by call sign. Ground commanders wanted her on their operations. She became the standard by which all JTACs were measured. But she never lost the humility, never sought recognition, never bragged. She just did the work. And whenever someone asked her about the day she saved 47 Marines, she said the same thing. I just did my job. 2 years later, Emma was promoted to Master Sergeant and assigned to develop a new JTAC training program. The program emphasized what she'd learned. Technical precision, yes, but also something more important. The power of a calm voice in chaos. Today, every JTAC in the U.S. military learns the Iceberg Protocol, a set of communication standards based on Emma's techniques. Radio discipline, calm tone, precise language, trust and training. And in the JTAC school at Nellis Air Force Base, there's a recording played for every new class. 5 minutes of audio from that day at Camp Leatherneck. Emma's voice, calm and steady, coordinating strikes, while men's lives hung in the balance. At the end of the recording, the instructor always says the same thing. That is what perfect sounds like. That is the standard. Be the calm in the storm. Emma retired after 20 years of service. She never received a medal for saving those 47 Marines. Unauthorized actions don't get medals. But she received something better. Every year, on the anniversary of that day, she receives 47 messages. From the Marines she saved. From their families. From the children who exist because their fathers came home. Thank you for my dad. Thank you for my husband. Thank you for giving me the chance to meet my son. Emma keeps every message. Reads them when the weight of memory gets heavy. Reminds herself that the risk was worth it. That breaking protocol was the right call. Because in the end, protocol doesn't save lives. People do. And sometimes, the most important thing you can do is pick up a radio and say, with absolute calm, I have control. Moral of the story. In chaos, calm is not the absence of fear. It's the choice to lead despite it. True leadership isn't about rank or authority. It's about having the skill, the courage, and the willingness to step forward when lives depend on it. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is lower your voice and raise your confidence. If this story moved you, don't forget to show your support. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to Army Story for more true tales of courage, sacrifice, and honor. We bring you stories that remind us that heroism isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the calm voice in the chaos that saves lives. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong, and never forget the heroes among us.